Okay, I am going to give it another minute or so to see if anybody jumps on, and then we'll get started. I need to double check the settings here. Let's see. Okay, it is time, and anybody else that jumps in, well, anybody that jumps in, we'll try to keep them muted and all of that. So, hi, I'm Burgundy for any of you new folks, and we've got a chakra workshop for the next couple of hours. It's a lot of information, and I want you to know right off the bat. Oh, hi. Hey, Jay.
Hey. Oh,
welcome.
Are you on video mute? I'm seeing a black screen, but oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Thanks for. I'm really excited to learn more about chakras.
Yeah. So I need to pin video. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's just going to be you and I, but remember, I'm sort of recording for multiple people. If you have any questions, certainly let me know, Jay.
Yeah. I will. Do you want me to message some people? I don't think I got it. It's okay. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. No, that's fine. Yep.
It's better to have an audience, I think, when you're recording too. Oh, you're recording.
I mean, at least I've got you. That's something, but that's okay, because I mean, it's kind of a weird time of day, time of night anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward. Let me.
Okay. So there's a lot to cover, but again, certainly ask questions. And then for anybody watching the recorded version of this, you know, send me an email or put comments under this video, something like that. The chakras are traditionally considered to be an energetic center in the body, like a vortex or vortices, and they're throughout your entire body, and there are said to be 80,000 chakras. I don't know if they all have names, I'm sure they do, but we're going to focus on the primary 7. There are also said to be chakras on the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, the roof of your mouth. And so the idea of working with the chakras that are all over your body is one thing. Working with the primary 7 is really what we're going to be focusing on, simply because it's what's really sort of prolific. Most people know about the idea or the concept of the 7 primary chakras. The 7 primary chakras, so I'm sort of going to talk as if people don't know anything, but I know that most people have a basic concept. The primary 7 are located along the center of your body, and as I go through each chakra, and we're going to be doing asana and mudra and pranayama, meditation, and all that for each one. And at each one, I'll talk about where it's said to be. One thing to keep in mind is that we're working on the chakras from the root or the foundation up, just like you would anything else, just like you build a house. Just like when we're doing any kind of asana or pose in yoga, even a simple seated pose, you focus on the foundation of your body, what's touching the floor first. You have to work from the foundation up. Same thing even with pranayama, where you kind of, when you're talking about breathing exercises, you're really talking about the pelvic floor up, even though typically, I mean, when you think about it, your pelvic floor may not seem like it's part of your breathing system, but it really is. So when we're talking about energy and the energetic body, when in the context of chakras, it's important to think about not only the energetic body, but also the physical body, psychological, emotional, spiritual, mental, all of it. Because just like, I mean, if you take sort of the chakras out of it, your physical body is affected by the way you think, the things you believe, the things around you, the way that your mind is working, your nutrition. All of these things work together. You can't just say, I'm going to work on my energy body and there's nothing else that's going to be affected or nothing else impacts it. That's just not true. It's all connected. So as we go through this, keep that in mind. It's not just the energy body, it's all of it, everything. And when we're thinking about all of it, you're even thinking about your DNA, the way that you were raised, the things that are around you every day, your nutrition, as I said, and the people that you surround yourself with, the things that you do, the stuff around you, all of it. All of these things affect your energy. And one big caveat to all of this is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not even a massage therapist yet. So what I'm talking about are things that I'm interested in. I research and study sort of all of these things and I put them together. And talking about and doing work with your chakras does not replace going to a therapist. It doesn't allow you to, on your own, get rid of taking your medication or whatever like that. This is one piece of a bigger wellness puzzle. And I certainly don't take this lightly. So the chakras are taught in many different ways, and I teach them in my own way in that, as I just indicated, I bring in all the things. And when you're talking about physical and psychological and all that, people, you can get hurt, you can misunderstand. So I don't take this lightly. I think that this is very important. And in talking about the chakras, there is a lot of psychology. And so as we go through the different chakras along the center of your body, try to think about all of the things that may be impacted when we're talking about, or may be related when we're talking about that area. Your energy changes day to day, moment to moment. So there's the chakra test, or whatever you want to call it, that I've given to everybody before, and I will put it either in the Facebook group or on the website again. It's not the be-all, end-all of chakra tests, but the idea is when, you know, in thinking about this question, so in thinking about the questions that relate to chakras, you can then, again, get an idea of what's the emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual side of this, physical, that we're really talking about. So for example, when it asks the question, I feel socially confident. So that's relating to the throat chakra. Where's the one that I really like? I experience feelings mostly in my body. And so that's the navel chakra, the third chakra. And to me, when I first started learning about the chakras, that seemed obvious because I do feel emotions in my body, but not everybody does. I don't like feelings, you know, sadness, love, all of those. I feel them in my body, and some people don't. So that's something to think about. So anyway, the chakra test is just sort of a way to get you thinking about what all is involved with each area along the spine, along the chakra line in the middle, the Sushumna, but also the idea of how the chakras are related. The first and the seventh are connected. You're working on balancing those. And so, for example, if you have a whole lot of the seventh one and a whole lot of the first one, that may not be a bad thing. However, you're looking for balance in each individual chakra, each pair of chakras, and then the whole thing together. And if you think about that from like building blocks, that kind of makes sense, because if you were to have a really narrow, weak foundation, but then you've got this, like, I am super spiritual, but I am not grounded, that doesn't even make sense. That you know, it seems like spiritually and emotionally you might topple. So that's kind of the idea there. Okay, so before I move on, does anybody have any questions before we jump into another avenue of this?
I was wondering if you knew the origin of where the original text was. This in Yoga Sutras or
This
Veda?
is actually, it's older and kind of separate. They're not really in the chakra, or I'm sorry, they're not really in the sutras, but it's kind of one of those things that grew around the same time. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of books that I've read that are super, super old. So my answer, my solid answer is, I don't know where it comes from. I'm sure that somebody does. But they're very old. The idea of the chakras and the notions of like energy vortices in your body is very old. That's kind of about as much as I can tell you on that. But like anything that's super old, you've got to take what you like and leave the rest. Try to apply it to now, you know, because I've read, I don't know if I have it quickly enough. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so I've got this super old chakra book, and this guy is super controversial, and the way that he describes the chakras and talks about them, if this was to be the first book you ever read on the chakras, you'd be like, this is weird, I'm not doing it, sounds uncomfortable, I don't even relate. So then as people sort of translate it and make it work, just like yoga in general, religion, and so forth, you know, it changes over time, and it should change over time. So good question.
I think I read it. Was that the guy from Theosophy? The guy who wrote that? Doesn't matter.
Ledbetter? C.W.
Yeah,
Ledbetter?
I thought it was involved with Theosophy. I might be mistaken.
Could be. Yeah. He's known, he is apparently well known.
I think I'm one of them.
Could be.
Or I read him before, for sure.
Okay. So when talking about the chakras, as I said, they are said to be energy centers in your body. What is energy? Energy is a lot of things, and that's another aspect to keep in mind about this. So we're talking about like frequency, sound, music, chanting, mantras, musical instruments even. So those things, like the vibrations in the air, the frequency, how fast or slow the sound waves are moving, that's energy. Movement, asana, dance, that's energy. Touch, mudras, touching an area of your body, focusing on an area of your body. Nutrition, the food that you eat, what you drink, food you don't eat, or drink, things you don't drink. Nutrition creates energy, or it can suppress energy. So nutrition is a big factor in this. Color theory, temperature. So those are forms of energy as well. And so all of those things are something to keep in mind when you're talking about the chakras, because what affects your energy? The color of the paint in the room. There are plenty of studies about how, you know, students learn better in one color versus the other, how in gyms you get a better workout in one color gym versus the other. So that matters. Color affects you. So we're going to be talking about different forms of energy. The chakras themselves are symbolized by, there's going to be a symbol in the middle. There is a color field in the middle that is really the one that matters more than what the general color is for the chakra. So the symbol matters probably more than anything. And then the number of lotus petals around it, that is referring to, again, sort of like the frequency or the, because truly it's talking about the frequency of the energy as it's moving up into your body. So we go from 4 and go all the way up to 1,000. So that's, the symbols are relevant as well. The benefits of talking about and working on your chakras. So you can feel a felt sense of awakening or unfolding. It can be like sensations in your body that you've never felt before, or you're tapping into those sensations. You can feel a balance of energy and thought and balancing your actions. You may be able to find that you can say yes to a healthy way. You can say yes in a healthy way to things, but then on the flip side, you can say no in a healthy way to certain things. Many people have trouble saying yes. Many people have trouble saying no. So this can help by investigating more about yourself. This also can help with spiritual development, finding a sense of purpose, sort of eking out what exactly is my purpose and how do I feel that I'm connected to it. And then also just sort of like a sense of connection with yourself, connection with the people around you, connection with our planet, connection with the universe. So the chakra work can be very powerful. And that said, it's different for everybody. It can be, very powerful and profound in very small ways. It can be in big ways. So, just take whatever you experience or don't experience in the moment. And it is what it is. And I do recommend journaling whatever you experience. So, we will be doing some movement and all of that. I'm going to talk about it real quick first, and then we're going to go into it. So we're going to hop directly into the chakras, and I'm going to talk about each chakra individually for the rest of the time. And so again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I mentioned the color. So the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, blah, blah, that was only really set to the chakras in like the 80s or the 90s. That is not something, if you were to look at any sort of representation of the chakras prior to that time, they're not in a neat rainbow. It is truly like the color, the field around the symbol itself is part of the symbolism. It's not the red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So just for that, just for clarification for that. So the first chakra that we're going to talk about is Muladhara. So this is your root chakra. Mula means root. So like Mula Bandha, and when we're doing like, I don't know, Malasana is not really a good example, but working with stuff that's your root, that's what Mula means. And then Dhara means support. So you're really working on your foundation. So root support makes sense. The visual representation of this is the square. And universally, the square symbolizes Earth, but it can also symbolize all the planets and all of the elements. And so it's a very balanced, grounded symbol. And it's got 4 lotus petals, because we're starting at the bottom. The basic idea of Muladhara is basic trust. This is your will to live, your ability to trust in yourself and others in order to just simply live. So you can even see how as we go up through the chakras, their basic sort of concept even grows and matures a bit as you work your way up. the will to live, security, trust, and self-preservation. This is the most fundamental thing that we're working on, the very root, the beginning of this whole thing. The location of it is between the anus and your sex organs, and so it's this area right in the middle is where the sort of ball of light energy is said to live. And there's sort of, so you'll find that there's sort of a theme here as far as like what kind of setting might help to balance or influence a positive experience with this chakra, and either dawn or sunset. So this is very basic and balanced. So you're gonna see things like that where it's not just, you know, the sun rising, but it's also the sun setting, because it's a similar movement on the other side of the day, you know. So an imbalance or weakness. So we're looking for balance in everything in life, everything in yoga, you're looking for balance. So when something's imbalanced, then we also can sort of see that as a weakness. Now, I want to talk about imbalance for a second, because you can have imbalance where you're way too much of something. That's a weakness. Being overly strong. See that as a weakness, because you do need to be able to balance it, because if your muscles are too tight, then you're not flexible, and that's not good. So a weakness can also be lack of strength, thus the name weakness. So if you're experiencing an imbalance or weakness in Muladhara, it can be seen as egoism, like super egotistical, I'm full of myself, or it can be seen as like a lack of self-control. And so because of this area of the body that we're talking about, an imbalance or weakness can be constipation. You can feel it in your body as constipation, back pain, fear, lack of trust in yourself and others, and disorientation, for example. Now, keep in mind also, so I said I take this stuff very seriously. I don't take this lightly. So if somebody has experienced trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma, you may be feeling this in that part of the body. And that's, again, something where you want to talk to a therapist. Just sitting here and talking about your chakras, that's not going to fix it. That's not going to help. But that's the kind that we're seeing. There's psychology that affects that part of the body. So if something traumatic has happened in this area of your body, you may have disconnected with your body, disassociated, and so you may be experiencing it in different ways. Again, like constipation, for example. If you have a strength, if you have nice balance in Muladhara, then it can be seen as life energy. You have endurance, you have rhythm, and you feel connected to nature. And so the part of the body where we really want to work on is, we'll work on like the pelvis, the bones, the large intestines, but also your nails and your teeth, because this is very foundational, basic stuff. Things that can have a good positive impact, things that you want to maybe have around you or ingest or, you know, have in the air: ginger, valerian, elderberry, but also cloves, rosemary, cedar, vanilla, and cypress. These are things that are very grounding. And so even if you like smell these things, they're very earthy. And that's kind of what you're going for. Okay, so let's get started with actual asana. So we're gonna do just some basic poses, and we're gonna just take, everything here is gonna be in sevens for the most part, as far as like 7 breaths and whatnot. So come onto your mat, and these are all just little simple things that you can do anytime. Again, we're looking to feel grounded. So come on to laying on your mat, and we're simply going to do a tree pose, laying down. So allow yourself to settle into the floor and feel as long as you possibly can. Lengthen your spine. And as your bones settle, maybe you feel that you can get like another centimeter out of your spine. So let's start on the left side. I always like starting on the left side. So bend your left knee, the sole of the foot's on the floor, and wherever you can get the foot close into the thigh, that's fine. So let's just open out that left knee and let the sole of your foot sort of suction to the inside of your right thigh. Arms are lengthened out. And you're just taking nice, easy 7 breaths through your nose. At the end of your 7 breaths, lift your left knee, straighten out your left leg. Take your time, you don't have to follow my breaths. And then move to the other side, bending the right knee. Sole of the foot is on the floor as you let your right knee open out. That helps to protect your knee. And if you feel like you need to have something underneath your thigh, if that's too much of a hip stretch, because we're not looking to stretch anything. We're letting the bones lay there. 7 nice deep breaths. Let your face relax. Let the weight of your body just melt into the floor. At the end of your 7 breaths, bring your right knee up. Straighten out your right leg. Let's bring your knees into your chest. So this is basic wind relieving pose. Bring your knees into your chest, and it's up to you how much you tuck them in. You can hold them with your hands. You can wrap your arms around your legs. Let your low back sink into the floor. Feel length in your spine, length in your neck. And you're focusing more on pressing your sacrum into the floor. You're not purposely trying to ball up. You're just bringing your knees in so that you can put a little bit more pressure on your sacrum. Taking deep breaths, relax your face. And at the end of your 7 breaths, lengthen out, just opening up. And then roll to one side. Bring yourself up to seated. we'll practice a pranayama. Simple pranayama for this. You're inhaling through your nose for 8 breaths. You're holding for 4. And when you hold, engage Mula Bandha. And then on your exhale, release for 8 beats. So you're inhaling for 8, holding for 4, engaging Mula Bandha, and then releasing for 8. And we'll do that 7 rounds on your own. And when you've completed your 7 rounds, just breathe normally. Notice any sensations, anything that there is to notice. There may not be any, and that's fine. So for our mudra, we'll do the hand mudra for moon, which is pretty simple. Your fingertip and thumb tip are meeting. The other fingers are reaching out. So in this mudra, there are different ways of doing this mudra. This one, your fingers are together and they are extended. So you are trying to keep sort of energy going on here. And the tips of the fingers are together. You're not putting the thumb on top of the nail bed. The tips of the fingers are together. So you're really making a nice circle. You're creating this connection and this energy. The wrists just rest on the knees. And 7 times we're going to repeat the chant, the sound lum. And if you see it written anywhere, it's L-A-M, but you pronounce the A as sort of a U. So we'll, almost like how you chant Om, we're going to do this with lum. We're going to do it 7 times. Inhale when you're ready. Lum. Lam. 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 Take a deep inhale and blow it out. So as we go through the chakras, we'll do a couple of each thing. And in the description down below, I will add some other things that can be done for each chakra, just so to make sure that we've got time to get through everything. So as we go through each one, again, notice what there is to notice. The next chakra is Svadhisthana, and that means sweetness. This is located below the navel. It's said to be 3 fingers below the navel. And so physically that area, the symbol for this is the crescent, which is the sign for water. So this is a lot of water stuff. So this is your sex organs. This is your kidneys, your bladder, but this also is blood circulation. So it's not just blood, it's the circulation of the blood throughout the body. So when you are properly hydrated, that has an impact on your blood pressure. So that's kind of how that's all related. The concept for this one is creativity and awareness of one's own body. So we're talking about, again, like reproduction in that area, sexuality, sensuality, fertility. These things are all connected. If you've got an imbalance or a weakness, then we're talking about uncontrolled drives, compulsiveness, feelings of guilt. You can see how that may be related to things that are sexual or sensual. Some people are not comfortable with it. Again, some people may have been traumatized, and these are expressed in different ways. You may experience impotence. There may be female reproductive issues, addiction even, low sex drive, all related to things. I mean, again, it kind of makes sense. The sort of earth experiences you can have with this would be in moonlight or with flowing water. Moonlight, a lot of times when people describe it poetically, they do use words like water words to describe moonlight. It bathes you. You know, it sort of flows. So you can kind of see how that may be connected. Moonlight on flowing water, holy cow, like that's healing right there. Some things that can be used or smelled, vanilla, pepper, yarrow, parsley, but also some oils that may help with this would be like the some aromatherapy. Bitter orange. I love bitter orange if you've never smelled it before. Again, also pepper, myrrh, and sandalwood. So they have a kind of grounding, a little bit of a snap to them, which I find interesting in this area. So let's practice an asana for this one. We're going to practice 2 asana for this. And we have done these before. So again, come onto your back. Legs out straight. You can have your arms out to the side. I like to open my chest as much as possible in anything, regardless of what chakra we're working on. So let's bring, what do we want to do? Let's wrap the right leg around the left. We've done this twist before. Maybe your foot wraps around your ankle. And let's lower the knees to the left. So again, we're working on that sort of bladder, low abdominal area. Let's take 7 deep breaths here. And you can sense when you're breathing, so although we're talking about abdominal area, the deep breaths and the twist, you can feel that in your back. Let the breath move your twist. Nice deep breaths. And after your 7 breaths, you can take your time. Your knees come up, wrap your left leg around your right, lower your knees to the right, and see what it feels like on this side. Nice deep breath, 7 breaths. One side of your body is going to feel different from the other. After your 7, knees to center, unwrap. Straighten out your legs. Flex your feet 7 times. We've done this before. Fist to feet. Reach your arms above your head. Make fists. Take an inhale. On your exhale, reach fist to feet 7 times. And the last one, stay seated, stay upright. I like the mudra for this one. Your right hand is inside your left. Your fingertips, your thumb tips, that they are touching. You're holding them down by here. This is actually how I hold my hands to meditate, just naturally. I really enjoy it. Allow your eyes to gently lower. They don't have to be closed. So we're going to mix together the mudra and a meditation. Let the tops of your shoulders relax. Use only the muscles necessary for keeping the mudra in the position that it should be in. And with your mudra, perhaps visualize an orange ball of light in your hands. And then allow that ball of light to move in, just right behind your hands, perhaps maybe like an inch or so into your pelvic area. As you're breathing, visualize that light expanding, growing brighter. And we're allowing orange light, this healing orange Svadhisthana light, to move into the sacrum, that big bone on the back of your pelvis there. Allow the light to filter into your sex organs, into your bladder, And then see if you can visualize orange light moving through your blood and through your body. So it's not just down in that area. Maybe you attach orange light to your blood and let it flow through. And then let's add in the sound, the intonation for Svadhisthana, Vam. And let's do 7 of those and see if while we're intoning that, you can still maintain this visualization of orange light. When you're ready. Vam. 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 Take a deep inhale and blow it out, releasing the mudra. Notice what there is to notice and recognize that as we're working up through the chakras, you'll start to see how they are interconnected, how working on one affects the other, how the concept of one impacts the other. So let's move on to the third one, Manipura chakra. So this is at your navel or at your solar plexus. So sometimes people say it's right in the navel or it's three fingers above in the solar plexus area. Manipura is a sparkling jewel, and the symbol of it is a triangle, which is the symbol for fire. So sometimes you'll hear about the fire in the belly. There's a kind of breath of fire that we do in Kundalini, where you're focusing on pulling in the belly button. Same kind of thing with Kapalabhati. So those are really good pranayama for practicing Manipura. Now, one thing I do want to say, just practicing different pranayama, things like that, again, you want to have a concept. Do I need to? Is it something that I actually need to work on? Just like any other kind of like physical activity, strength doesn't come from doing the thing all the time, all day long. It comes from the balance and being able to do what your body needs for that thing. So take a look at questions related to the chakra, to the third chakra specifically. A lot of times people overwork this one. So that's kind of why I'm bringing that up, is that it's a little bit of, it's one that's overdone. We see a lot of yoga classes that are focusing on like core strength and so forth, and that's kind of what's coming to my mind. So the concept with this one is a concept of sense of self and emotions. This is hard because, you know, we talk about like butterflies in my belly. When I'm anxious, I feel this in that area. When I'm anxious, when I'm nervous, when I'm happy, when I'm excited, it all seems to be in the belly area. When I'm angry, I can also feel that in other places, of course, but this is truly like a center of a lot of emotions. So there's also the notion of like willpower, personality, and self-control, all from right here. So like you know, when you're angry, maybe you grip and you're engaging your core muscles, your abdominal muscles. So this is where you're looking to see, how does your body react to emotions, and can you soften that feeling, balance that feeling. Things that sort of ignite this chakra probably aren't going to be surprising: sunlight, fire, yellow flowers. So if you feel a weakness in this area, maybe try being around these things. Body parts that are specifically related to this: digestive parts, small intestine, liver, and then your autonomic nervous system. An imbalance or weakness in this area can manifest as digestive issues, stomach issues, diabetes, obesity. So perhaps you overeat, perhaps stress levels in your body, cortisol, because of, you know, anxiety or stress creates cortisol, and you have this sort of inflammation in your body because of that. Aggression, insecurity, nightmares, sleep disorders. So you can kind of see how that might be related. But then also, like, the flip side. So we're talked about really kind of anxious kind of things, but also like over sentimentality, self-pity, and jealousy. So those can be like the flip sides of that. What you're looking for is a strength in this, like a good balanced strength is sensitivity, spontaneity, and emotionality. So like nice, being able to express your emotions freely and naturally, but in a balanced way, where, you know, you just sort of feel it everywhere instead of like in one spot. This kitten is ridiculous. I'm having to admit that here. So I'm sorry if she's distracting, but who doesn't love a kitten? So some things that you can have around you, some smells and so forth: lavender, chamomile. So those are sort of calming things. Lemon, anise, and cardamom. Fennel and juniper as well. So things that have a little bit of a lemoniness to it. Also, you can sort of see like there's a yellow theme. That's frequently the color associated with it. So let's do an asana for this one. And we're working on that sort of core belly area. So let's get the kitten out of the way, possibly, and come onto your back, not fully on your back. So we're going to do reverse plank. So your hands are behind you, fingertips pointing towards your hips. And I like to point my toes. Press into your hands, lift your hips, try to get your toes to the floor. We're going to take 7 breaths here. Work on pressing your belly button up to the ceiling. Long, deep breaths. At the end of 7, lift your toes, lower your hips. Let's come onto your belly. So we're going to do sort of an opposite but similar pose. We're going to practice bow pose. So in bow pose, although this is a back bend, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that pressure, pressing the belly area into the floor. So you can start by bending your knees. And you can do a simple bow pose. You do not have to grab onto your ankles if you don't want to, or if your body isn't ready for that yet, because we really haven't warmed up. You can lengthen your arms as much as possible, or as much as you can, or you can be in a sort of cobra pose here. So that's entirely up to you which version of this you want. If you feel like your back is ready for it, mine really isn't, you can grab onto your ankles. So let's go 7 breaths, whatever version of the pose feels best. Lower yourself down from that. And to release this pose, let's go ahead and roll onto your back. Releasing the back bend. Keep your leg, or lengthen out your legs, and let's bring one knee in. Bring your chin into your chest. So we're going to do half wind relieving pose. Take 7 breaths here. After your 7, release that leg. You can stretch out if that feels good to your neck, and then bring the other knee in, chin to your chest. 7 breaths. After 7, lengthen out, take your time. Maybe you're not ready, that's fine. When you are ready, bring yourself up to seated. So bring yourself up to standing now. I'm gonna do it, let's see if my head can be in this picture here. We're going to practice a pranayama for this one. And you're just standing, just feet in sort of a natural state. But you're standing with your thumbs pointing forward, your hands and your hips, your thumbs are forward. Inhaling and exhaling calmly. Just nice soft breaths. You're not purposely doing anything just yet. Keeping the breaths calm, tops of the shoulders soft. Every time you exhale, engage Mula Bandha and hold for 4. So that's really the only thing you're going to focus on, and we're going to do that 7 times, your own count. Inhale and exhale softly, but the exhale, you're engaging Mula Bandha and holding for 4. Once you've finished your 7 breaths, come on back down to seated. The mudra for this one, oh, let me shift my thing down again. The mudra for this one, super simple. Palms are together, except your palms are going to be sort of, they're not flat together, but they're opened up a little bit. And the thumbs are sort of nestled in there, but your right thumb is on top of the left. And you've got your fingers pointing out away from your belly, from your solar plexus or the belly button, wherever it sort of feels comfortable. Mine's sort of like, more like where the solar plexus is than the belly button. And as you're breathing, visualize a yellow light. Visualize that yellow light at the center of your body, just above where the belly button would be. But visualize it so it's inside, it's in front of the spine, behind the belly muscles, below the rib cage. We're allowing that yellow light to sort of move around your digestive tract. Because as we know, digestion and elimination are very important for staying healthy and energetic and having good energy flow. And so too much tension blocks that. So we're working on sort of creating space. And then we'll chant the word Rum. And we'll do that 7 times when you're ready. Rum. 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 Take a deep inhale. Blow it out, release the mudra. Notice what there is to notice. Building upon the first 2 chakras. Building up a nice foundation. And maybe you begin to notice what aspects of, sort of this little yoga practice that we're doing, what speak to you more? Does asana feel like it gets to you, gets to the thing, gets to the chakra or the emotion of it? Or does pranayama feel better for you, or the chanting? Maybe all of it. So, in yoga, as we know, we do many things are yoga, not just asana. So having all of these things together, maybe you found some of like an aspect of the asana challenging. Maybe that's a sign, right? So we get to the fourth chakra, Anahata. This is the heart chakra. Anahata, flawless. That's an interesting term, an interesting translation of that for things that are of the heart. The basic overall concept of Anahata, no surprise, is love. What does that mean? That it's all kinds of love. But we're also going to throw in empathy in here, because empathy is a really important emotion, feeling, concept. Putting yourself in something else's shoes to really have an idea of what that thing is. You know, when we do meditations on what does it feel like to be, so one of my yoga friends, she did a meditation a while back on what it feels like to be a pine cone. And it was really cool. She actually sent me a picture of a pine cone, a little postcard. You know, what would it feel like to be like my kitten? You know, to help understand what it's like to grow up with another older cat. I need to empathize with my kitten, and vice versa. The older cat, she's not getting along with the kitten, but why? You know. So love, empathy, and humanity. We're all connected. Recognizing that, you know, I may be experiencing life or this moment in one certain way, but having empathy means I look at this other person and I say, you know what, this isn't about me. They're experiencing it their way. We sometimes forget that, and we think like, you know, for example, like one of the things that I'm prone to do is I text somebody and then they don't respond quickly. And I assume, well, I made them mad, something that I did. This is related to me. They don't like me. They don't like what I said. And it turns out they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was making dinner. You know, literally, it's not about me. So love, empathy, humanity is working on yourself, but also getting outside of yourself. And that's what empathy is. So someplace that you can put yourself, forests, fields, the wilderness, get out there, because it is not about you. The symbol for this is the hexagon. We've got 12 petals for this one, and the hexagon, the symbol of the earth, the element is air. So we're moving up, and although we're in the heart, so it's the heart chakra, but we've got the lungs here. So the physical aspects of this, the heart, the lungs, the blood itself. So prior to that, we were talking about the circulation of blood. This is the blood itself, because blood carries, your oxygen travels through your body via the blood, but also arms, hands, and the immune system. An imbalance or weakness in this can manifest as narcissism, where you're too much focused on yourself, makes sense. Bitterness and arrogance, again, feeling bitter and arrogant are emotions that are centered just around you, right? And these can physically manifest as high or low blood pressure, maybe cardio or respiratory issues, heart, lungs, maybe a lack of feeling, lack of sensation in your body, lack of emotion, lack of being able to connect or relate, relationship problems, and also poor boundaries. So maybe you bring people too close, maybe you push people too far away. So the weakness in that, the imbalance in that can manifest in, you know, both sides of the spectrum there. Strength in this is feeling love, feeling empathy, and again, feeling a sense of humanity and connection with other beings, really. You can use saffron, thyme, melissa, so the plant melissa, rose, jasmine, and tarragon essential oils, or, you know, literally as part of a food source, food. So for this one, we're going to practice some poses that work on opening up the chest, which I think is helpful. And keep in mind that there is, so one swing of all of this is being far too open. And there is I know plenty of people who say yes to everybody and everything, but do they leave enough for themselves as well? So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe that's you, maybe not, but I'm just throwing that out there, that a lot of times when we're talking about the heart chakra, we are talking about opening up, but it is, again, poor boundaries. You want to make sure that you are also having a sense of security. All of these other foundational things that we did with these other chakras are related to this as well. So having a healthy amount of love and empathy and all of that includes for yourself. So we are going to practice cobra pose. So come onto your belly. It's nice and easy. And in this cobra pose, I'm going to give you a couple different options here. So do work on seeing if you can engage and lift up on your own without too much of pressing into your hands. So you can have, remember, cobra pose, you do not have your elbows on the ground and they are hugged into your rib cage. Or perhaps your body can allow you to clasp your hands behind your back, depending on what what's available to you right now. Whichever one. Let's take 7 breaths here. Let your body move with the breath. Release down, press back into child's pose for just a moment. Then come on to your hands and knees and bring yourself into a nice down dog here. We're just going to stay in down dog for a moment. Draw your hips back. Feels nice to stretch your calf muscles, perhaps anyways, hamstrings. We're going to move into a triangle pose, and I'd like to do a nice big triangle. So step your left foot between your hands, right heel comes down. Let's bring yourself into warrior 2 first. And then straighten that left leg. Let's tip into triangle. Use any part of your left shin or leg sort of to support you, reaching your right arm up. Now let's turn this into a chest opener. Let's bring that right arm behind your back and really work on opening the chest. And you can look down your shoulder or look up to the ceiling, whatever feels best to your neck. Nice long spine. And we get out the same way we came in. Unwrap your right arm first. Bend your left knee, hands to the mat, step back into down dog, draw your hips back. And let's go right foot forward between your hands, nice warrior 2 first. Bring yourself up, align yourself here, and then straighten your right leg and tip into a triangle, lengthen up. Then see what you can do about bringing that left arm around your back, palm facing away from your body. And you're not resting your body on your right hand, you're lengthening your spine. Unwrap your left arm, bend your right knee, down dog, draw your hips back. And come down to your knees and come into a seated position. So the mudra for this, it's going to be different men versus women energetically. Well, not energetically, but how you do your hands is going to have a different energetic effect. However, keep in mind, all of this, so these mudras were created in a time period when we didn't have such an important concept of what gender means. So depending on how you identify, depends on how you use your mudra, or you just try it and see how it feels, and then that's the answer for the mudra. I don't like to necessarily feel set in stone about the way that the mudras are supposed to be done when it comes to gender or really anything. I actually like to notice how it feels in my body, and I might try one versus the other, because also there are some days when, and I do not, I don't identify as gender fluid. I identify as a female for sure, as a woman. But I can definitely sense how there are some days when I've got more masculine feeling, more feminine feeling, more balanced, and maybe none of that or all of it. So I sort of go by that when I'm dealing with my mudras. So for this one, it is said that for women, on your left hand, your thumb and your ring finger are together, and your right hand, your thumb and your middle finger together. For men, it would be opposite. So for men, your left hand would be your thumb and your middle finger are together, and your thumb and your ring finger are together on your right hand. So I'll give you a moment to actually just feel. So your hands are doing something different. Either it's middle finger or ring finger being held. And so I'm going to let you have a moment to feel the difference between how they feel. And maybe you feel no difference, and that's fine. And also remember, we're working on balance. So maybe you don't go with the one that feels the most comfortable. You know what I mean? So that's, again, something to play with. Once you settle into a mudra, wrists on your knees, sit nice and tall. Nice easy breath. Focusing on a green light centered around where the heart is, maybe just at the center of your body. This green light, we're getting it to saturate the lungs, the heart, but also your arms and your hands, because movement of your arms and hands can have an impact on your blood pressure. And right now we have our arms lower than our heart, as opposed to higher. Higher can boost your blood pressure. And we will chant yum 7 times when you're ready. Yum. 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 Yam. 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 Take a deep inhale. Blow it out, release your mudra. One thing you may notice as you're chanting these different tones, you may feel it different in your body. You may also notice that when you chant, so for me, some of these sounds, I can lengthen each of the letters in it differently. It just feels different with my mouth and the way that I can express it. So for me, yum, I can lengthen the part a little bit more, and I do feel that like right in my chest. Whereas, and maybe this is just me, you know, knowing where supposedly you're supposed to feel it or whatever. But I do feel like each of these sounds, I can feel it in that different spot in my body. Sometimes maybe I don't feel it where the chakra is said to be, and that's fine. But it is interesting to notice where you feel the different chants, the intonations, and how you, so like yum, it's a deeper thing for me, even though we're moving up in frequency technically. But yeah, it feels different. So just something to keep in mind as you're going through these. On the 5th chakra, Vishuddha. So this is purity, which is interesting because this is the one that we're talking about communication. And so purity, thinking about truth. This is the chakra is said to be in the throat and the larynx. So we're talking about breathing, but also speaking, communication, truth, inspiration. We find inspiration in a lot of different ways, and frequently we find inspiration in the way that people, you know, the what they say. Maybe they sing a song, that's the way that they communicate. Communication can be many different ways, and it's not just verbal, and we know that. It can be written, it can be through music, it can be through dance. So this chakra does not just center around verbal spoken communication. It can be all forms of communication. Might not be surprising, but a way to sort of put yourself in nature and experience this would be around blue skies, calm sea, and still waters. Still water reflects back. Same with a calm sea, for example. It reflects back the truth, reality, what is. The symbol for this is just a simple circle, and that's ether. So we've now moved out of things that are connected to the earth elements, and we're now moving into things that are ethereal. So this is literally ether. So the throat, the neck, the esophagus, and windpipe, but also your shoulders and your jaw. So when you're talking about breathing, and I know that the heart chakra was where we were talking about respiration, but how it gets out also is through the throat. And you've got all these neck muscles, your trapezius and so forth, that also aid in breathing, but also talking and speaking. So as a Sicilian, I talk with my hands, my shoulders a lot, and my face. So I can really appreciate the things that go into dealing with this chakra, because it's not just the throat. There's more to it. And when you have sort of a tightness, when you've got like an imbalance of this or a weakness, or an, you know, maybe it's overdone, you can have a tightness in your jaw for sure. And that may be how it manifests in your body. Weakness or imbalance can be seen through like a need for admiration, or intolerance. Maybe thyroid problems, neck pain, speech problems, like stutter or so forth. Shyness, feeling like you cannot express yourself. Literally somebody who feels like they can't speak may not actually have a physical problem, but there's something else that needs to be worked on in order to feel like they can express themselves. Keep in mind, again, this is how all of the chakras are related. It's not just with the throat. It's not just with your breath. It's not just one thing. There are a lot of things that are related to why you may not feel like you can express yourself, or communicate well. It can be a lot of things. Maybe how your parents treated you as a kid. Maybe they didn't let you speak, or maybe they told you how to think and how to speak. I mean, it can be so many things. So as you're working up the chakras, thinking about, your past, how you were raised, the people that are around you, what you say, what you do, all of that is connected. So strengths in this. So the first word in this is discrimination, and I find that interesting because a lot of times we think of the negative of discrimination, but discrimination is an aspect of something that, animals do this, living beings do this. They discriminate for safety reasons, in that I'm going to be very specific and particular about things that I choose. So that is, thinking about, discriminating which words to use when you speak to describe something, the way that you talk. Having multifaceted interests is a strength in this. So being, very creative. So we already talked about creativity. So how do you express that? Having multifaceted interests means that you are thinking of gobs of ways to express yourself, because the things that you're interested in are an expression of who you are. Playing music. Musicality is the way that it was described in one of the books that I read. Music is a form of communication. Dance, art. And thinking about how these are connected again, if you are an artist or you've ever experienced a blockage where you just feel like you can't make art, that's coming from someplace else. It's manifesting in the way that you communicate, and maybe you feel like you can't. So again, it's all connected. Anise, cloves, peppermint, sage. These are good things for opening up. Eucalyptus, camphor, peppermint. So as aromatherapy, or using some of this stuff like peppermint and sage when you're cooking, or when you're making food for yourself. Again, you're sort of opening up. And we know this also from, like, if you've got phlegm and so forth, those are good things for opening up, like at wintertime. So asana for this. So we're going to start with, let's sit on your heels. We're going to start with lion's breath. Lion's breath, I think, is an interesting pranayama. So even though this is technically, we're doing it as an asana because you're putting yourself into a specific posture, and you're posturing, you're putting your mouth and face and tongue into a specific posture. But then it also turns into a pranayama because you're not just going to sit there with your tongue open, you're actually going to breathe over your tongue. So for lion's breath, understand that lion's breath is not only, it's used for strengthening your tongue muscle. There is sort of like strength in being able to sort of power through the breath itself, because it's a challenging one because you have your mouth open. You're also using expression in your face. So you've got your tongue hanging out as far as you can. You've got your eyes crossed looking at the tip of your nose. So it is a challenging physical posture as well. But then also the main intention of this breath is actually for fun. It's a way to say, you know what? Stop taking this all so seriously. We're going to do this fun breath. Yeah, it's got benefits to it, but also it's ridiculous. We all look silly doing it and we can't see each other, and that's fine. So we're going to do this for about 30 seconds. Again, this is a challenging breath. Do what you can with it. So you're sitting on your knees or you're sitting on your heels as best you can. My feet are flat to the floor. My toes are not curled under. You're gonna have your hands on your knees, leaning forward, tongue hangs out, crossing your eyes, looking at the tip of your nose, and we're just gonna breathe over the tongue. What is that? And I'm like I'm slobbering on my legs and my mat. Like this breath is ridiculous. But notice how you feel. So it is said, although I don't have any scientific backing on this one. So when you're breathing like that, you may taste like a metallic sound or metallic taste. You have a taste on your throat and your tongue. That's said to be toxins that are releasing. Again, I don't have any scientific basis for that one, but a lot of people say that one. But you are like, this is a heavy breath. It's a heavy expiration. So you're getting out a lot of like your bad breath that's coming out. There's a lot of carbon dioxide that you're really pushing out there. But also your mouth is wide open. So there's something interesting about this breath. It cools me, and it shouldn't, because it's a wide open mouth breath. Typically cooling breaths should be with pursed lips and through like a tube. This should be a warming breath, and it's not. And probably it's because you're breathing over a very moist tongue. And so that is possibly why this is a cooling breath. But also, it could be the constriction in your throat because your tongue is out and you're sort of engaging the throat muscles and the tongue. So the constriction may not be in your mouth, but it may be in your throat, because honestly, if I think about it, my whole mouth area is cool because of it. Great. So coming from lion's breath, let's go into a low crescent pose. So you've got left foot forward, right knee on the floor. We're going to bring the arms overhead. So we're lengthening up. You can have your arms just straight up, or you can have your palms pressing together with your thumbs hooked, and then lift your chin, lift your nose, look up to the ceiling, 7 breaths. After 7, palms to the mat, left foot comes back, right foot comes forward. Maybe you've got your left toes curled under, maybe not. I like to have my back toes curled under in crescent. It adds to my stability. Bring your arms above you. Maybe your palms pressed together, hooking your thumbs. Lift your chin, lift your nose, 7 breaths. Hands to the mat. Bring yourself down to seated again. The mudra for this, clasping your hands, your thumbs are pointed up. So almost like you would be doing like whistling through a blade of grass. Your thumbs are up, shoulders are soft. We're going to do the humming breath. So you're just inhaling lightly and your exhale is a hum. Do 7 of those. You're done, take a deep inhale. Blow it out, release your mudra. When I do the humming breath, I like to play around with where I feel a constriction in my throat. So my hum changes tone frequently. I like the humming breath. That to me is a fun meditation, pranayama. Yeah, I mean, it can really get you centered and grounded pretty quickly. And it helps with massaging the throat, working the vocal cords, all of that. So the humming breath is a really powerful, I hesitate to call it pranayama because I think it's also a meditation. And then throwing sort of the mudra in there with it is interesting to me as well. So see how that works for you. I like it. Moving up to the 6th chakra, Ajna, forehead or third eye. And it's said to sit back. So it's not just in your forehead, it's a little bit back in the sort of forward center of your brain there. Ajna, awareness. So again, we're moving up. We're talking about deeper things. Wisdom. This is reason and intuition. But interesting also fantasy, because creativity and imagination are related here. It takes a combination of a lot of things to have the ability to have a concept of fantasy and also still stay rooted and grounded in reality. So there's a balance there if you can see where that is. Intuition, perception are some of the aspects of this one as well. It is, the symbol of this is a winged circle. It looks like a winged circle. So it's a circle with 2 lotus flowers on it. So typically we were saying that we were increasing lotus petals, but this one's different. Again, there is no element to this. We're moving up. We're looking into the night sky and the stars for this one. We wish upon a star. We've got
People believe that the stars are their ancestors. People look to the stars for wisdom. We contemplate the sky, the night sky. We're made to feel little when we look at the big expanse of stars. And perhaps you can find comfort in, I like to use the word insignificance, but some people don't like that word. But I like the fact that I like to feel small, because there are times when my burdens, when my life feels so overwhelming, and that I feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, people are going to be disappointed, or things are, what I do is so important. The things that I do are so important that I feel like the burden to do them. When in reality, we're all individually important, yes. In the grand scheme of things, no. And perhaps you can find comfort in that. I do. I like to feel small. I like the feeling of insignificance. Although I make an impact on little people that I love in my life, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. So we're talking about areas of the body: the cerebellum, the nervous system, your hormonal system, eyes, ears, nose, sinuses. So this whole sort of head region, head, brain. An imbalance or a weakness here, a lust for power, overconfidence, and also irresponsibility. And this can be seen like headaches, sinusitis, poor concentration, anxiety. And you can also see again how, although maybe not, things that are related from the bottom up, also the stuff at the top can have impact on the way down. Feeling, if this is strong, if this is balanced, then we've got healing energy, self-confidence, intuition, and imagination. Imagination and fantasy are the ability to think outside of what you see around you, or you take what you see and you make something different out of it. But there's still some reality there. You're not completely disconnected. That's where we get, that's what creativity creates, is imagination. So again, see how it's all connected. Bay leaves are super good for this. So put a bay leaf in some food that you're cooking that is right to put a bay leaf in. Bay leaves are interesting little plants. I like them. St. John's wort is used for anxiety, but a good one to look into. Spruce, lemongrass, and violet. So are some edibles here. So for our asana, this may be a little bit different. Find a comfortable seated position, and we're going to do some eye rotations. So you can have your eyes opened or closed. So there are 6 eye muscles, and we're going to be working those. And it's up to you, again, eyes, if eyelids are opened or closed, as to how this might make you feel nauseous or not. So I'm going to do my best to keep my eyes open. So we're going to start with just looking left and right 7 times. Look up and down 7 times. So up, down, that's 1. Roll your eye, both eyes, obviously. Roll your eyes to the right 7 times, up, over, and around. And then after 7 to the right, do 7 to the left. And after you've got 7 palms together, rub them. And heels of the hands into your eye sockets. Let them rest. When you're ready, release. Now I can't see. Okay, we're talking about the third eye, forehead area. So come onto your belly. And this is a half locust pose, not lotus, but locust. So make ice cream cone hands as if you're holding an ice cream cone. And the ice cream cones are going to go into the floor. Your forehead is on the floor. Lift up your left leg. So press your right hip into the floor. Press your ice cream cones into the floor. Lift your left leg as high as it can go. We're going to take 7 breaths. After 7, lower your left leg. Press your left hip into the floor, left thigh, raise your right leg. 7 breaths. Press into your ice cream cones. Release that right leg. Bring yourself back into child's pose. Child's pose is another pose specifically for the third eye. See if you can get your forehead flat to the floor. So it's not where your hairline is, or for those of you that are bald, it is not that high up. So the bridge of your nose is on the floor. And when you're ready, after 7 breaths, bring yourself up. Nice, easy seated position. We'll do a mudra and a meditation for this. A good pranayama for this is alternate nostril breathing. We're going to bypass that just for the sake of time. So make a heart with your fingers, pressing the knuckles into one another, except the middle fingers are pointing up, okay? So you're making a heart with all your fingers, knuckles pressed together. So it's not the finger pads, it's the knuckles are pressing together. Middle fingers are pressed together above, thumbs are pressing below. We're going to do 7 ohms. When you're ready, take an inhale. Take a deep inhale and blow it out. Release your mudra. Last chakra, Sahasrara, thousandfold. This is the crown of your head, or seen to be above the crown of your head. It's the Guru chakra. The lotus has 1,000 petals. Typical lotus flower, but it's got 1,000 petals. There's no element to this. 1,000 is seen as just infinity, really. Enlightenment, self-realization, cosmic consciousness, spirituality. So this is yoga, the union of you and your divine, whatever you see, if you use the word universe or whatever it is, this is it. Maybe it doesn't necessarily mean that you have attained enlightenment. I don't know how to prove that one is enlightened. You feel it, maybe people sense it in you. But it's a profound feeling of connection, but also sort of freeing. Who knows? It's said to be something that you can sense, feel, maybe try yourself on a mountain peak. Yes, I'm lucky, I've got mountain peaks. However, maybe you can find a metaphorical mountain peak, but being out there where you can see and connect with everything, and sometimes going above it all, enables you to, again, you're being up higher, and you're able to see how small and little everything really is. Not that you're bigger and better, but you get a different perspective on things, perhaps. This is the brain, but this is also your entire organism. This is all of you. It's putting it all together, the brain, the body, the spirit, all in one. Imbalance or weakness here, depression, confusion, immune system issues, flight from reality, so disconnect from reality. So none of this is saying that we aren't still grounded. Remember, we are working on Muladhara first in order to even get up here. So we're not disconnecting. Even a sense of superstition means you're disconnected. So we got to have reality. And there is a difference between superstition and ritual. Apathy and illusion. So there's a difference between illusion and fantasy and imagination. So illusion, there's no basis in reality there. So we're really working on having all of this stuff connected. We have a nice grounding to the earth in order to really find all of this. We got to come back home at some point. Strengths in this feeling of spirituality, a connection with your divine. Again, this is yoga. This is union. No spices or herbs for this one. We're using incense. There's rosewood. There's really maybe nothing. Maybe nothing is needed. Detachment, unattachment really is what it is, not detachment. So for this one, you can have you're sitting kneeling or you're sitting cross-legged. Mountain pose, palms above, pressing your palms together, thumbs connected. We're going to be silent in this one. We're not oming, we're not chanting. And this will be the last one that we do. You're visualizing maybe light purple, silver, whatever this sort of like, whatever the color is. Maybe it's all of them together, maybe it's none of them, that's up to you. We're going to do the virtual alternate nostril breathing. So you're breathing in through the left nostril, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left, without touching your nose. 7 times. When you've finished your 7 breaths, take a deep inhale, lengthen up, and blow it out. Arms come down. So that's just a taste of the 7 chakras. Again, notice what there is to notice. Maybe you experience something, maybe not. You know, I do recommend, again, journaling or sitting and thinking about, maybe meditating on aspects where you do want to look deeper, where you want to investigate more into a concept, into like one chakra or something that chakra symbolizes. So if something stood out to you, you know, then perhaps that's the next thing for you to look at. Doesn't mean that you've got a weakness or an imbalance. Just means that maybe that's standing out to you, and maybe that's the chakra practice for you, is what stood out. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Thank you for like putting your own life advice into the chakras too. I think that was like, obviously you can't get that anywhere else. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. Okay, so I will, so this is recording, so I am going to let this do its thing, and then this will be uploaded on the website, and I'll have that chakra test thinger, and if anybody has any questions, let me know. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering though, are you recording this to the cloud? Does it to get transcription?
No.
Okay,
No.
I guess I could feed it back in. I was just interested in getting the, like, flowers and stuff.
Oh.
Each one. But I think I have your notes from the last one too. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.